Hey guys, welcome back to the channel today. So we're not going to be doing a cover today, it's something a little bit different. This is a new series that I've wanted to start for a while now, finally pulling the trigger on making the first episode. I'm going to be calling it Learn from the Pros, and in each episode we're going to be doing exactly that. We'll take one of our favorite bands or our favorite songs in the metal universe, and we'll try and break it down and figure out what characteristics make it so great. I'm excited about this series. I think it'll be a cool way to learn a lot about our favorite bands, what makes them so awesome, and maybe we can even learn a few tips and tricks to apply to our own musical styles. For those of you who like seeing the covers on the channel, do not worry, I have plenty more covers coming down the line. I just like to mix up the content on the channel a little bit to keep things fresh and keep the channel from getting stale. And also having a little bit of space between the covers gives me a little bit extra time to work on some more difficult songs, which I have coming up soon, so keep an eye out for those. I'm excited about this series. I think it'll be a really good one to continue, but as always, I am genuinely curious to hear what you guys have to say, so please leave a comment down below. Let me know if you like this idea and you want to see more Learn from the Pros episodes. And if you do want to see more, let me know down below what bands or songs I should talk about in the future. Alright, that's enough of the intro. Let's get into the first episode. Alright, today we're going to be talking about Gojira. Everybody knows them, everybody loves them, and many consider them to be one of the heaviest bands in the world. But we live in a crazy time in the metal scene right now where we have bands that are sounding like this. Or even like this. So when we have all these insane bands doing crazy heavy music like that, how do these four French boys who play 6-string D standard guitars compete and still be considered one of the most heavy bands in the universe? Well, I'll tell you, I got 6 tips that they use all the time to make their songs incredibly heavy. Just a quick side note before we jump into the first one, I'm not going to be talking too much about drums or bass in this video, just because this is Shosky guitar. A lot of us are guitar players, we love the guitar, we talk about the guitar. That's kind of just what I'm going to be focusing on in this video, but I just wanted to put it in this little side note here. Obviously, the drums and the bass are the rhythmical foundation of the band, and they play a huge part in the overall sound. I don't want to make it seem like I'm forgetting about them. I'm just sort of more focused on the guitar aspects of the band as a guitarist myself. All right, on to tip number 1. All right, the first trick is inverted power chords. So I said at the beginning that these guys play in D standard, which is just one step below standard tuning. Not really low compared to some of the other crazy tunings that metal bands are using these days. But just because they play in D standard doesn't mean they play in D standard. What do I mean by that? They actually trick you into thinking that they're playing lower than they actually are by using inverted power chords. A power chord is the most common thing you'll hear in all of rock and metal music. You hear it absolutely everywhere. Right? You get the idea. They're all over the place. What it is just a tonic and the note 5 notes above it to make a power chord. Very simple stuff. Here's the A power chord, which is made up of an A and an E. To invert it, all you do is take the E that's above the A and move it below the A, hence inverting it. Same 2 notes, except it's inverted upside down. Inverted power chords tend to sound way heavier than their other standard counterparts, way darker, and they actually trick you into thinking that you're hearing a lower tuning than you actually are. If you were to play this chord in the regular root 5th way, you would need a 7-string guitar in drop G tuning, which is the same type of tuning that Whitechapel or Fit for an Autopsy would use. So you can really see how they're tricking you into thinking that they're playing lower than they actually are. Here's a great example in the riff from their latest single, Born for One Thing. So the second tip is something called Rhythmic Illusion. Now this isn't an official musical term or anything. It's something that Ben Eller uses a lot in his videos where he talks about Gojira. I kind of stole that term from him, but I think it's a good way to describe what's going on. Basically what it is Gojira tricks you into thinking you're hearing a pulse that you're not actually hearing. and then they catch you off guard when it's finally revealed that that pulse was a lie the entire time. It's a cool way to keep you on your toes, and it gives you an extra wow moment once you realize that you were off the entire time. Here's a good example for context. In that same single that we were just talking about, Born for One Thing, they have that harmonic intro where it's sliding up and down those harmonics before the main riff kicks in. And what they do is they play that sort of droning wild harmonic for a while, and they try and get you to settle into a pulse of 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, which you come to expect. It's really common. It's the most common pulse in all of music. So you hear that 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. But if you listen to it and you're counting like that, even if you're doing it subconsciously in your head, when the main riff kicks in, it's actually going to come in on the 3, which is going to catch you way off guard. You would expect it to come in on the 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. But it won't happen because it turns out those harmonics weren't in pulses of 4. They're actually triplets. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. After you go back and listen to it again and you count out triplets, the main riff comes in perfectly on the 1, like as you would expect it. But your first time listening through it, you wouldn't really necessarily hear the triplets right away because they're all washed in on these weird sliding. It's a cool way. It catches you off guard when the main riff comes in. It really adds to that boom, that explosiveness when the main riff kicks in.
Oh! Just goes.
So the third tip is tension and release. And what Gojira do here is they're putting chapters into their music, right? Being heavy isn't necessarily about being pure aggression all the time. What Gojira do is they have sections where they add suspense and they build up to what's coming. Then they have sections of just heavy, aggressive, chaotic riffs. And then they have next sections that come in and are slow, melodic, reverb-soaked choruses that give you time to take a step back and take a breath on what you just heard in the chaotic section. They let you recover and process before they start building up again in the suspense section. It's a really cool writing technique that a lot of great bands use, but Gojira do it to a T, and it's what allows them to make these 7 and 8 minute songs, but you don't even notice they're that long because you're kind of on the edge of your seat listening to it the whole time. I'll play a great example of one of the best songs that show building suspense. All right, fourth on the list is varying the time signature and note duration. Now this kind of goes hand in hand with the rhythmic illusion that I was talking about earlier, but it's also something pretty different. We've all heard those crazy breakdowns and seen the memes where it's like extra heavy when you hear the riff come back, but half time it's half as slow. Well, Gojira do that a lot, but they also take it a step further sometimes. What I'm going to show you is the intro from The Heaviest Matter in the Universe. And what Gojira do here is they accentuate their main riff by playing it faster first, then coming back slower. But instead of doing it just once by cutting it in half, they actually do it 3 times by subdividing the beats into thirds and having it come back slower once and then even slower again. So when that main riff hits, it is just chugging and sludgy. Take a look. All right, number 5 on the list is one of the things Gojira is the most famous for, and that is just making some noises, some non-musical noise that the guitar was not designed to make. Talking pick scrapes, natural harmonics, artificial harmonics, pitch shifting whammy bar notes, you name it, Gojira does all of it. And it's a great way to just sort of contribute to the chaos of their riffs, and also just keeps you on your toes, not knowing what's going to expect. And really, there is nothing heavier than a well-timed Gojira pick scrape. Check it out. this list is just the atmosphere that Gojira creates with their songs by choosing the lyrical subject matter that they do. Now, there's not a lot of happy-go-lucky type of songs out there in metal. Everything is pretty much on the darker side of things. There's still a lot of maneuverability in that, though. You know, you have your bands that have the classic "My Hometown Sucks" kind of vibes. You have the "I Hate the Government" type of vibes. You even have bands that hate you type of vibes. But Gojira really does take the heaviest and the most existentially pressing subject matter and chooses to make their songs about that. Talking about things like humans' impact on the ecosystem, mass extinction of various animal species, and even the art of dying itself. It's really some existential stuff that makes you want to check your carbon footprint almost as much as it makes you want to headbang. Obviously, singing about this kind of stuff isn't going to make your music heavy on its own, but when you add that in on top of all the other tips that we've been talking about earlier that Gojira does, it really adds that extra emotional connection to the music that's going to make it all that much heavier and that much more effective. Alright guys, I hope you enjoyed that video. Leave a comment down below. Let me know if you want to see another one of these learn from the pros type of videos. This is one of the first videos that I've made that's not like a cover style video, so I really hope you enjoy it, but I'm genuinely appreciative of your feedback and I want to know if you want to see more, so let me know in the comments down below. If you want to see more videos, think about subscribing to the channel. I got new videos coming out every single week and adding more variety all the time. Think about sharing this video with a friend if you enjoyed it. It helps me out a lot. And thank you to all of you who subscribed already. You're the best. And I will see all of you very shortly with some more content. Peace.